and countless paths to it. Today, we're joined by someone who exemplifies that theme to the T. He's a federal lawmaker who's dedicated to serving the people of Louisiana, and his journey was anything but conventional. But it started at Boys State in 1974. After graduating from LSU Medical School, he began teaching at Loan Hospital, a charity hospital to serve the uninsured. He then co-founded the Greater Baton Rouge Community Clinic to provide free dental and health care to the uninsured. After decades of public service through the medical field, he transitioned into the political world. In 2006, he was elected to the Louisiana State Legislature. In 2008, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. And in 2014, he was elected to the U.S. Senate, where he still serves today. He's using his medical background, his drive to enact change, and his dedication to public well-being to represent our state at the highest level. Gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause for Louisiana's senior U.S. Senator, Dr. Bill Cassidy.
How are you guys? Good. Who can believe that I once looked like you? My hair was once brown or blonde. I was once kind of in as good a shape as you guys, and now I got white hair and I got arthritis. But I say that because one of you, quite likely, will be a United States Senator one day, or the president of a university, or a business person, or a press person, or somebody showing leadership in our state or someplace else. And why do I do that? Because you were selected because you're a leader. You were selected because you have abilities that are a little bit more than the others. And the challenge is, are you going to do something with it? Now I'm going to say just a few things, and then I'd love to have your questions, because I'd much rather hear your questions than for you to have mine. But folks always say things like, not bad. Yancy brings it up. How did you go from being a doctor to being in the United States? That's true. So let me give you a little bit of that, and then I'll get your questions. Folks ask, who's interested in going into politics? Who's interested in being successful? Totally, man, totally. Well, I can tell you, if you're successful, you may end up going into politics whether you think about it now. And the reason I say that is you're looking for somebody who's shown leadership in another aspect of life. And someone says, well, I want to go into politics. What path should I take? I say, well, first, I recommend you don't go into politics right away. A couple of practical reasons for it. But the kind of good reason about it is that once people see that you've been able to live under laws, you've been able to be successful, not by making the laws, but rather by living under them, then they start having a little bit more confidence in you. They say, whoa, this guy was able to do good stuff in whatever field you did those good things in. The second thing about it, when you're out there trying to work hard and make things happen, inevitably you've got to work with other people. And the more you work with other people, the more you know what makes them tick. The more that you know what makes them tick, the more you know how to put together a law that serves them. And I say that also helps you develop an attitude. I love the way the Yancey said, action leadership. I also like the term servant leadership. If you're going to be a leader, you want to be an active leader. It's almost kind of like one and the same. But you also want to be a servant. There's a great scripture, I love it, in St. Mark's Gospel, chapter 10, verses 42 through 45. And Jesus says to the folks, among you, your earthly rulers lord it over you. But among you is not to be the same. He who wishes to lead must be a servant, and he who wishes to be first must be a slave. For even the Son of Man came not to be servant, to serve. But the point being that if you're going to go out there and convince you're the person who should be their leader, then you need to be the best servant. And I can promise you, if you go out there and you show people I'm working for you, I'm the guy who's willing to do the hard work. I'm the person who's going to get up early, stay late, to make sure good things happen, then you will be rewarded. it's sales, whether it's education, whether it's politics, you'll be rewarded. Now, I want to finish by saying this, and I'll take your questions. When I was your age, I also went to a program in DC. Got my picture taken with the congressman at the time, a guy named Vincent Moore, representing the 6th Congressional District of Louisiana. And so we got a picture, shaking hands. And so when I was cleaning up my closet, my parents' home many years later, I was already in the House of Representatives. I opened up an old notebook, and there's that picture. Me shaking hands. That a picture? Click. Now, then I thought to myself, isn't it interesting? I had come back to be congressman who replaced him in the 6th Congressional District. It's like we were passing the baton and didn't even know it. So I said that to a group of young students who were up in DC. They were visiting. I came to talk to them. I said, one of you could be the congressman. Because I described that picture. And a kid on the back row stands up and goes, Mr. Congressman, the man you shook hands with is my grandfather. Pretty cool. It's space time. Not only did we reach through for me to shake hands with his grandfather when I was 15 or 16, and now I was speaking to this man when I was then about 55. But then when he was 15 or 16, was telling me that was the grandfather. One of you will be the congressman or the senator who represents our state, or in some other way makes our state a better place. Now, take that responsibility seriously. Don't waste it. When you get to be 65, you want to look back and say, man, I had all the opportunity in the world, and I did everything I could to do it. And if there's anything I can do to help one of you achieve that, let me know. I'll say one more thing, then open up for questions. Who wouldn't mind living in Washington, D.C. for 4 to 6 weeks? I got some takers. We have an internship program that once you go to college, apply for. It's competitive. We take 14 or 16 kids, 2 different sessions during the summer, give you $1,000 so you can pay your room and board. You come and you live in Washington, again, for 4 to 6 weeks. Some of what you do is take people on tour. You make coffee. You otherwise help other people do things. But you're going to meet people from around the world. And you're going to say, that's a pretty good experience. So whether you're interested in politics or not, you just want to have that under your belt. I am here to help you achieve that. Can my staff raise their hands? See those folks back there? They've got business cards. Go back to one of them if you wish and get their card. And when you finish up your freshman, sophomore, or junior year in college, give us a call. We would love to hear from you. I'd like you to be in college. I like to say that way when you're arrested, you're on your own. But it's because most of the other students there also be through at least 1 year of college. So it's a little bit easier for you to do that. Now, I can, Yancy, I would love some questions.
Yes, sir. Senator, if you're all right, I've got 2 quick ones. And the second one is going to be, I think, a good transition into a lot of the questions our citizens have talked with us about. I think they've got some policy questions, some pretty intense ones for you. Does that sound all right to you?
Sounds good. How much time do we have?
We have about 40 minutes.
40?
Yes, sir. Got it. For sitting questions. Start off, sir, the central theme of this year's program is bringing action to leadership, being a statesman rather than a showman, and recognizing that statesmanship often requires bipartisanship. What advice would you give to the citizens as they go out to become servant leaders in their communities on working across the aisle and the people that they may not know to solve real problems?
Yeah, well, anytime you take on a problem which is bigger than like your own home, and even sometimes within your own home, you got to work with other people. And and Congress really reflects the American people. If Congress is divided, it's because the American people are divided. So what can you do? Be positive. Whenever I see somebody criticizing a fellow American, like I hate Democrats or I hate Republicans, I'm always thinking those are fellow Americans. If we were being attacked, we would all be in the foxhole together. We would be fighting against those people who are attacking us. Why are we divided among ourselves? Scripture and Abraham Lincoln quoting scripture said, "A house divided cannot stand." So make it your point as much as possible not to sow division, but to actually attempt to work with other people and make good things happen. We're on Team USA. Act like you're on Team USA.
Thank you, sir. Last question from us, and then we'll turn it over to you guys. Senator, typically whenever we host the program in the last week of June, it is the final weeks of the Supreme Court carrying out decisions. And a lot of our citizens, all of our citizens, are going to be participating in the judicial system this week, and so it's very topical. This morning, we understand, and we heard about it today, that the Supreme Court has issued a ruling that impacts Louisiana. One clarifying that it's likely that a second majority minority district or Congress will have to be drawn. And we just wanted to pose that question as we shift to citizen questions. If you'd like to share any thoughts on that in the aggregate, not on the specific ruling, but the thought of increased representation for the state as we have citizens from all across Louisiana here today.
Yeah, so, hey, the Supreme Court has spoken, we have to obey the law. People like to pick and choose the laws they want to obey, and you don't pick and choose it. And so if the Supreme Court says that you need to have two districts which have a majority of African American representation, then we're going to do it. Period. End of story. Now, and if you look, if you just kind of Google, you're going to be able to look at the maps out there. Some of the maps, they're pretty compact. In fact, they're a little bit more compact than the maps that we currently have. So I think the rationale that you can't do it because you have to kind of stretch people out too much is just not true. It's going to be interesting. The two African American districts will probably be about 52% black. As a rule, African Americans don't vote as often as do non-African Americans. And so it may end up that you will end up with Troy Carter, who's a black man out of New Orleans, has one of our 6 districts. Theoretically, you would have Troy on, because there's going to be more turnout among people who would not vote for Troy. All I say is participate. If you're passionate about the issue, get in there. Make sure you vote. Make sure you get other people to vote. The Supreme Court's spoken. We have to obey that law. But the outcome is far better.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, we're now going to open up for you all to ask your questions. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand, and SC will bring you a microphone.
Senator Cassidy, can you talk to us about a time where you had to go across the aisle in the Senate and work with a large group of people to get something done?
Oh, absolutely. You know, in the Senate, nothing happens in the United States Senate unless you have 60 votes. You got to have a supermajority. Well, no party, rarely does either one party have 60 votes. So you've always got to work with the other side. There was an announcement today where Louisiana's getting, I think, $1.3 billion to make sure that everybody in Louisiana has high-speed affordable internet. The reason that money is there is because I've worked with people from both parties on the bipartisan infrastructure. Now, who's from a town with great internet service? And whose hometown does not have great internet service? So, about a third of us don't have good internet. Your community cannot grow now unless you've got good internet. What business is going to locate where there's not good internet service? Ain't going to locate there. You've got a distribution center, you've got a bank, you've got to order your inventory online, you've got to file taxes online. If you don't have good internet, your community begins to die. The people who are most excited about the infrastructure bill are those who are getting internet services. I went to ribbon cutting in Bill Platt, and in Bill Platt, they cut the ribbon. They're going to begin building out internet, and the mayor at the time, she goes, you know, there's 3,500 parishes and counties across the nation with third first, and we're going from worst to first. That's a nice little saying. Now I say that because Louisiana's got to build their future, and we need to go from worst to first. And one of those building blocks is to make sure that everybody has high-speed affordable internet. We would not have that money now if I had not been among those who are willing to work with both parties to pass the bill. And because I did and others did, 2 things, the bill passed. And secondly, specifically because I did it, Louisiana's going to do a little bit better. In that bill, Louisiana, I think, gets more per capita for internet expansion than any other state in the nation. There's other things in that piece of legislation that will help our state catch up to where we need to be in 2023. For example, who's from the coast? There's billions of dollars on to help rebuild our coastline. Whose communities have flooded in the last 10 years? There's billions of dollars to help mitigate risk of flood. And all those programs are tilted just a little bit to help Louisiana do a little bit better. If politics is about who gets what, and that's the definition of politics, who gets what. My participation, my helping to pass a bill, my doing it even when some fellow Republicans are criticizing me, means that our state did a little bit better. And in 2050, we'll look back upon this decade as when Louisiana began to rise. And we did it because we're addressing internet, flooding, coastal issues, bridge building, roads and highways, ports, sewer and water, you name it. That bill helps. We're going on. Next.
Hi, my name is Clifton Walker. My question is, what was your motivation / inspiration to get to where you are today?
Oh, that's great. I suspect everybody in here has a desire to serve others. Now, for me, it was easy because I went to medicine and I was able to serve people working in Louisiana's church hospitals. And it became a kind of natural building point at some point to build upon that to run for office. But if you take that impulse, if you want to serve other people and you continue to work, you're going to succeed. Now, by the way, I say that because if you look at the high-performing companies out there, Amazon, the Googles, pick the best, they do their best to create effort where everyone in that business thinks they're working for a higher goal. Everyone in that business has a sense that if I work in this place, our community, nation, and world will be a better place. Now, you've got that. You're young. Sometimes it gets snuffed out as you get older. People tell you you're being naive. If you hang on to that, if you just kind of tend to it, and you let that animate you, you're going to do well. You're going to do well wherever you live out. You're going to do well. I say that because I was once with a group of students, and one of the young ladies said something about a senator, something she was so impressed. And I said, I would be impressed with this. Who's had more influence upon the world? That senator or, say, Steve Jobs' mother? Steve Jobs' mother, right? She took Steve Jobs, he invented Apple, the Apple computer, and now our whole life is shaped by Apple products. So she served her sons growing up, and her son has since served the world. So if you just bring that sense of service, of helping others, and never let someone snuff it out or say that what you're doing is not important, if you just hang on to it, you're going to do a lot for yourself and for others. I try to nurture that.
Senator Cassidy, my question is, as a person interested in politics, what would be a good way for when it's time for me to get started to get my name out there and build those connections that I need to build?
Oh yeah, so you got several different questions right there, okay? Now, Yancy mentioned these alternative paths. Now, one thing you want to go out in politics, you go to college, you graduate from college, you make as many connections as you can, and you get involved in politics. You run for your local council, I would not recommend it. You work in a campaign, you want to make a business out of it. And if that's your idea of being in politics, then you will be able to make those connections. If you want to serve in political office, I would actually recommend, as I said earlier, go into business, do a craft, go into education or into medicine or law or something, and have a career outside of politics. Have a life experience that you can then point to. Have a spouse upon whom you can rely. And then when you actually run for political office, people will be able to look at your resume and say, wow, this is the kind of person I want to support. Now, it's not just, by the way, it's not just you, it's going to be everybody who's moving forward. So, for example, my wife was a retired breast cancer surgeon. But when I first ran for office, all the women voted for me because she had been their surgeon. And so it's also kind of, the vote for your associate. If your business partner is going to say, wow, you've done great business, I'm sorry to lose you in business, but I'm writing you a big check because I don't want you So you build up that credibility. So at least two pathways. One, if you just want to, I would just, if you want to be involved in kind of getting people elected, you can start there with one. If you want to be involved in kind of running for political office, get some years under your belt. Get a little money, get your business running, have some success, you'll learn those leadership skills that will translate very well. And do an internship in Washington, D.C.
Senator Cassidy, sorry, a little harsh on the screen. A leader can be charismatic, intelligent, well-spoken, but what truly, in your opinion, sets apart a good leader from a great leader?
Yeah, a great leader sees the challenges that lie in front of a society before others do, or at least more clearly. Brings together the coalition to address those strategies. You're inevitably going to take heat because not much change, even when it's from worse to better. And is able to mobilize that coalition to come and address that, to address that challenge. A leader is almost by definition someone who's in front of other people. But unless your leader is actually addressing those issues for which he or she is hired to address, they're not doing their job. One example, Social Security is going bankrupt. It's going bankrupt in about 8 or 9 years. Your grandparents are going to be dependent upon, or already dependent upon, believe it or not, one day you will be. And no one is talking about it. Neither President Trump nor President Biden, who are two leading candidates for president, are acknowledging the Social Security issue. Not in a serious way. They'd rather be elected, even though without commenting on it, without showing leadership, as opposed to establishing this is a major issue which we have to address. And if we don't address it, people, poverty among the elderly will double, our country will go into something approaching bankruptcy. All these terrible things that they're not acknowledging. A real leader should say, listen, we've got an issue out there, and others aren't as aware of it as I, but I know it's there, and we're going to work to fix it, even if I have to take a couple of hits in the process of doing so. That's kind of a real life example of what I think a great leader should be.
Hi, Senator. My question is, what does life typically look like when not on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, well, my gosh, if you do an internship, you'll be able to see it. Because one day, for all my interns, I have them one day just trail me wherever I am. And they get to see what it's like. They get to see the reporter running up to you. Because I think when I was doing voice, they have reporters. Do you still have reporters? Yeah, they still have reporters. And they were supposed to be incredibly obnoxious. They're supposed to be shoving microphones in front of them. And so I have them actually record the reporter asking me questions. I have meetings, sometimes I'll have meetings every 15 minutes for 4 hours straight on any different topic. It can be about climate change, it can be about Social Security, it can be about education, it can be arts, it can be about government, it can be about politics. We've got to, then I'll have committee hearings. I'm a highest ranking Republican on one of the committees. Bernie Sanders is my chairman. He's a Democrat, of course. And so Bernie and I kind of sit there together, kind of go back and forth. So you may have 3 hours of that. It may be sitting with the young people in my office and working on a solution to fill in the blank. Right now, my office is working very hard on climate change, on Social Security, on Medicare. We have a Western Hemisphere policy, just attempting to address the challenges of China coming into the Western Hemisphere, addressing us. And people your age, probably about 4 years older than you, are the ones having to make those decisions. I work with people who are 24 years old who are putting together computer programs that are helping to shape the future economic policy of the United States of America. It's pretty cool. So y'all are probably all 17, 18, something like that. I can tell you, if y'all want to do something like that, in 4 years, we throw you into the furnace and say, get out there and start producing. And you rise. You rise to that challenge, you do great. But that's part of my day. Part of it will be working with someone like you.
How are you, Senator? Are you from Lafayette? My name is Luke Pierre. So I have kind of a policy question for you. So if you remember, in the last year of President Barack Obama's presidency, there was a vacancy on the Supreme Court, which the majority leader at the time,
Mr.
Kentucky,
Collins.
yes, he vowed not to fill the seat, as it was an election year. And if you also remember, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away in 3 months till the election of the 2024 election, to which Joe Biden was elected president. There he nominated and was confirmed Amy Coney Barrett, which you voted for. Are you proud of that vote, voting for a judicial candidate 1 month till the presidential election year?
I'm very proud of that vote. I think she's an exceptionally qualified person. You actually have a couple of things in that. You have a couple of things in there. You're asking me to defend Mr. McConnell's decision, which there was a process that I could explain, kind of, let me go with that, how he would justify the difference between the two. But I'm just supposed to do that which is presented to me. I can't actually line up everything that brings the point to that point. Amy Coney Barrett, who happens to be a New Orleans person, yeah, and so she's exceptionally qualified. And so, my task is to vote yes for someone who's qualified, and then I did my job. If we want to talk about how it was set up for these two things, different conversation, but that was not something which I had a role.
Sorry for the voice. My name is Jordan Rogers, and I just wanted to ask you, obviously, you have a lot of problems that you deal with every day regarding social and economic policies. I just wanted to ask you, which do you find more important, social problems or economic problems?
They're inseparable. They're inseparable. If you look at the breakup of the family, of the nuclear family, there's a lot of things. We sort of to show you the interrelationship of the social with the economic. If you wait to get pregnant until after you finish high school, which means you graduate. If you get married and you stay married, then you have only a 5% chance of growing up in poverty. Now that is a set of social issues which has an incredible impact upon economic. Now, I'm not, believe me, there's a lot of great single moms out there. I'm not arguing that. I'm just quoting statistics. And so if you can have an intact connection, that child is more likely to succeed. She or he is more likely not to grow up in poverty, which means they're more likely to go to school, they're more likely to graduate from high school, and they are more likely to achieve their career and achieve their taxes and contribute to the wealth. You cannot separate the social from the period. I got somebody in the first row. Should I give them the microphone? Because you'll never get up here. You go next, and I'll get my microphone.
Hello, sir. So earlier you spoke about gaining the hearts of the people, about making positive changes in the community before achieving a high position such that you have right now. What achievements did you make before you gained higher power such as this?
Yeah, so if you, I was very fortunate. Working as a doctor in a hospital for the uninsured, I had lots of opportunities to do things that people could say, oh, that's pretty good. So, for example, I created a hepatitis B vaccination program. You've all been vaccinated at birth with hepatitis B, but at some point it was not a required vaccine. But we ended up vaccinating fifth graders for hepatitis B, and we vaccinated 36,000 children in Greater Valley area for hepatitis B. At least some of those kids would have died, statistically would have died from hepatitis B had I not vaccinated. I say I, other people did vaccination back in school. In Baton Rouge, again, I work for a hospital for the uninsured, but I also taught my medical students. If you're a doctor, and you're from South Louisiana, it's where most of the LSU and Rollins doctors practice. But if your doctor is less than 55, she probably heard my lectures on diarrhea and hepatitis. I was really had a really good diarrhea lecture. And so every now and then people still come up and say, oh, hey, how you talking? And I remember your lectures. And so you have all those students out there who are not doctors who are helping. I helped found a clinic in Baton Rouge for the working uninsured. Dentists, physicians came together, so if you were working but did not have insurance, You could actually go to the dentist's office or the doctor's office, get your health care as opposed to waiting in line at the charity hospital. I can keep going with things like that. People that look at my resume and say, wow, the guy was helping to do good things to help our community and how to do work in a variety of ways long before he decided to run the place. Oh, there you are.
Hi, Mr. Cassidy. My name is Malachi White, and I had a question pertaining to a lot of underdeveloped towns in Louisiana starting to develop to more modern and technological cities. What did you recommend citizens in Louisiana start doing to be able to afford housing and those developments like new roads, internet, advancing?
Well, a couple things on that. First, what does our state do to build that up? First, it takes good leadership. There is, anybody from Grosstep? Anybody from Riverville Parish? You say Grosstep. Grosstep. The mayor of Grosstep decided to put this town going down to I-10 away from going west from Baton Rouge. He decided to put in high-speed affordable internet. And so he just made a commitment. I'm going to get a grant, I'm going to put in internet. It's about, what, 12 miles from that? About 12 miles from that. And all of a sudden, he had a couple of big retail units, big gas stations, a lot of pumps, come and put up in Grosstep because they had internet, and you could put in your card into the, you could put your card in and get your gas via the internet. Now, what that did is started increasing the sales tax revenue, so getting more money for the community. And then people who wanted to live near Baton Rouge would not have to live in Baton Rouge, began to buy property there because it was affordable, but they had internet. And so that helps us tax base too. And then once you get more people moving there, you start getting retail that begins to come in. That helps this tax base too. That mayor was farsighted to say, what's the one thing I can do that can drive economic development in my community? Internet. He did it, the community changes. So it takes leadership. I'm coming back to you, be a leader. Now, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which I was asked about earlier, that's been huge. That gives every community in Louisiana the opportunity for high-speed affordable internet. Yet the sewer and water system is poor. It allows them to get dollars to help upgrade their sewer and water system. Yet the bridge is going out. There's 300 bridges that are being redone or built in Louisiana because of the bipartisan infrastructure. That said, it still takes a mayor, a police juror, a city council person who's going to go up there and get those dollars and make sure the project gets done. In our system of government, here's the federal government, and here's your mayors, and here's your townspeople, and it all flows down like that. Now, this is if you can demand it too. If your community doesn't have, you fill the blank, don't have adequate sewer and water, you can start a public petition that would go to the town council and say, we know there's dollars out there, help us get those dollars. You can demand the change. And you are the people who we're trying to keep. If you say, I want this community to be a better community for my age, we want bike paths. We want recreational facilities. You can help drive that change. So anyway, it takes leadership.
Senator, I think we've got one final question to keep all on schedule.
Hello, Senator, I'm Joe Maggio. When working in group environments such as the Center of Voice State, my name is Joe Maggio. When working in group environments such as Senate and Voice State, communication is key. What are some good tips on communication?
Yeah, so in Washington, D.C., I heard a saying once that first, be trustworthy. And if people don't trust you, it doesn't matter what you tell them. So you got to be trustworthy. Be clear. Be passionate. You know, sometimes at your age, people don't want to be passionate. But I always say, like, you know, okay, your girlfriend just sees you with another girl. And she comes to you and she says, hey, were you with somebody besides me? You don't go, no, I really wasn't. You know, I had my own around here. It's no big deal. You know, like, yeah, no, you're going to say, baby, no. That was my body double. You never met him? And by the way, she doesn't mean anything to me or to him. You know what I'm saying? Baby, you're the one I love. You're going to throw some passion into it. So here, you're trying to get people on to your way of thinking. Be honest, be passionate, work hard. If they see you working hard, being honest, and being passionate, they're more likely to go with you. Yeah. Hey, where is Clay Michael Rogelio? Hey, brother, I was emailing with your dad earlier, so just to say, give you a shout out. Anybody here from Terra High School? Oh my gosh, I got a Trojan over there. Yeah, so that was my high school, my alma mater. Men, I look so forward to see what y'all have to accomplish. I have no doubt that when I wrap up my student career, one of you will be starting your career in a way which will be incredibly meaningful. Might be my fellow Terra Trojan, might be the young man from Lafayette who asked me the great question about law, a future lawyer there. But achieve. Don't be intimidated. When somebody tells you it can't be done because you're from wherever you are from, don't believe them. Don't believe them. There's always going to be people trying to knock you down. Don't believe them. Thank you all very much.
Senator Cassidy, a lot of young men have worn those white shirts with Boy State logo over the years, and it means a lot to those who have gone through the program just like you. So before you leave today, our Vice Commander, Ms. Tina Silaka, would like to present you with a citizen shirt of your own.
So I wore this thing for like decades, so finally my wife threw it out without telling me today. So you'll hang on to your shirt for a long time. Hope you wash it a few times, but anyway.
Fellas, let's give Senator Cassidy a round.